Hello, everyone, and welcome back finally. We are finally back from vacation, and where we sit today on June 21st, the Cardinals are at 537 and 37, 4.5 games back, I think. Is that right? No, 6.5 games back of the Central, firmly entrenched in the second wild card at half game up on the team behind them, and coming off legitimately one of the greatest showcases I've seen Major League Baseball put on in a long time last night at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, I think we'd be remiss not to start there. That was awesome. Like for someone who, prides himself as knowing a lot about baseball, I don't know nearly enough about that part of the sport, the Negro Leagues and everything. And I thought the way that Fox handled that was awesome. Having superstars there like Reggie Jackson, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr., obviously celebrating the life of Willie Mays as well. Sucks he wasn't able to be there. But that was incredible. Obviously, Reggie Jackson's story was very touching. That was all over social media. I like that Fox let him say that, let him say what he needed to say without editing it. I thought that was a good move by them. It was great. I thought John Batiste did a great job before. Willie McGee helping out Greason to go throw out the first pitch was really cool. So that it was like they did a great job. They hit every single thing they needed to hit there. And obviously the Cardinals winning was a pleasant surprise because I thought that game was set up for the Giants to win one for Willie Mays. But it was a great weekend. Honestly, I mean, a great game. Obviously, like I wanted them to win, but it felt like the game was secondary. And I saw a lot of people on social media saying the announcers forgot there was a game going on. The game was secondary to everything else that was going on there.
Correct.
So, like for me, even if the Cardinals would have lost, that would still would have been an awesome thing to experience. And I think they should do that every year down there.
Yeah. Personally, for me, Rickwood Field, I told this story, I think, on Facebook, but your mom, my wife, and I were on our honeymoon on our way to Florida. We got tired. We stopped in Birmingham for the night, got a hotel, happened to go to a restaurant. No, do not remember the restaurant. Was wearing a Cardinals hat, and this guy starts talking baseball with me and says, "Hey, do you know that Rickwood Field is this close to where you're staying?" I had heard of Rickwood Field. I'd heard the stories, the Willie Mays. I obviously read Willie Mays' book as a younger guy. So I kind of knew a little bit about Birmingham and the baseball history. 3 years prior, Michael Jordan had been there in Birmingham to play. So obviously Birmingham was kind of smack dab in the baseball world. So your mom and I head over to Rickwood Field. I convinced her to go on our honeymoon to go see Rickwood Field. My thought is we're going to drive up. I'm going to see the outside structure. That's it. Get to Rickwood, see it. Obviously, you can kind of like pull in, you feel the history. There's an open door for some reason. And I'm like, well, we're going in. Like, we're going in to Rickwood Field. I mean, I don't want to get arrested in Birmingham, but I'm going in. Walk in and greeted by the guy, wish I could remember his name, who at the time was running it. He ends up giving us about a 45-minute tour of Rickwood Field. The stories, Satchel Paige, Willie Mays, Hank. I mean, nearly a third of all Major League Hall of Famers have played in that stadium. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
it was kind of funny for me last night, the way that they would embellish the home run stories. You and I talked about that a little
Think
bit.
you believe all of them somehow?
Well, in my mind, I want to believe things, Caleb. I want life to be
Babe
happy
Ruth
like
hit a
that.
ball 700 feet, and then Reggie Jackson came on and said he only hit it 5 feet shorter. Like, okay,
But it
sure.
was awesome for me to see. Obviously, he showed where the wall was before they had already redone that, but 480 feet to center field. The thing that caught me off, that I, as a former player and coach, was the backstop at the time was like 80 feet from the from home plate to the back. And he said, back in the Negro Leagues days, and even in the minor leagues, guys, and I think they told a story about Bo Jackson doing this, would score from second all the time on pass balls. That blows your mind. But it was
They
you
said
could
Cool
feel
Papa Bell would score from first.
you could feel the history in that place. And last night there was no doubt that all those ghosts who have played there in the past were there, and Willie was probably holding court with all of them. And it was just such a cool moment for the game to celebrate the Negro Leagues. I thought Bob Kendrick, that man
He was
should be the
awesome.
commissioner of the game. Listening to him was amazing. The Bill Greason stuff was unbelievable. I mean, I just thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job. Like they did as well as they could have. And honestly, like the way that like with MLB the show and everything that's gotten the Negro Leagues more involved, I think it would be a good idea to have that every year. Like there's no like we celebrate the Hall of Famers every year when people are inducted into Cooperstown. There's no reason not to remember them every single year by going there, especially if that stadium, like they just renovated it, so it should be good to go. I think it'd be a good idea to do that every year, have new teams play there. The stories that they can tell, and it seems so special for all. Like King Griffey Jr. and Barry Bonds talked about how special it was that they felt like their culture was finally being appreciated and talked about, and they should do that every year. There's no reason not to. These players like Satchel Paige and Jackie Robinson played such a big role in where we are today with baseball. They deserve to be talked about more often than they are.
Yeah, I grew up with the stories of those old times, not necessarily the Negro Leagues, but of those old time players from the 40s and 50s. And my mom, your grandma, got to see Satchel Paige pitch for the Browns. And that's a moment that she still talks about. My grandpa pitched for the St. Louis Browns, batting practice, did not ever get drafted, was in the military, but was lucky enough to go over and throw. He's a left-handed pitcher with them. Like that's pretty cool. So I grew up
Mhm.
with those stories. But the Birmingham connection was great. You and I talked a little bit last night about where do you go next. I think Cooperstown makes sense for at some point in time to have a game there. But you brought up a great point last night. Why can't Major League Baseball do 4 or 5 or 6 of these a year in these smaller stadiums? Obviously, the answer is probably money, but the exposure that last night brought to Major League Baseball, you've got, I've heard and read the stadium in Newark is supposed to be like legendary, the amount of Hall of Famers who played there. Obviously, you've got Montreal, you've got all these other
Yeah.
places in these smaller stadiums. Awesome. I wish we would have gone. I looked a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago, and the tickets were outrageous. Last night they dropped to $400, but I still probably wasn't going to drive to Birmingham yesterday. So, but anyway,
No, but
shout out Major League Baseball.
yeah.
The looks on the former Negro League players was worth it all. That was amazing. But how about last thing I'll say? At one point, you had A-Rod, Ortiz, Bonds, Griffey, and Jeter sitting up holding court, and then Reggie Jackson came in just a little bit later. Like that was amazing.
And Albert Pujols was there. Like literally the best players of my lifetime were all there. The ones that aren't currently playing. It was really cool. It was, and that's obviously what five of the best players you've ever seen that were on up at the
Yes,
stage there.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool. And I had something else I wanted to say. No, I don't remember. Oh, shout out Brendan Donovan. Pretty cool at his hometown to go do what he did. He's getting
Home
on fire
state.
too, which they need. Yes, home state. Sorry. Like I'm sure as a kid from Alabama playing baseball, you heard plenty of
Abs.
stories about that stadium. So that
Yep.
was really cool. And he's also starting to get hot, which they need.
Yep.
So that was great. I thought the event was awesome too. Oh, the thing I wanted to say, the St. Louis Grays jerseys, which you're wearing the hat right now, that should be that should be an alternate. They should wear those 10 times a year. Like those are
Yeah.
the best jerseys, alternate jerseys they have, hands down. It's not even close.
Yeah. I ordered one and I have it on the way, and it's number 16. You can say that's for Gorman, but if you want to, Ray Langford sits on the Mount Rushmore
Colton
for me
Wong.
for favorite Cardinals. So relax. But you can put him
Hey,
on there as well. I told you last night I regret I got the City Connect first with the Mason win. Would have been really cool to have, I think, the St. Louis Stars with the Mason win one. Probably should have got that also. Might have to end up doing that as well. But yes, they are awesome. I think the Pirates wear the Grays quite often. I think the Royals wear the Monarchs once or twice a year. I
yeah, they
think
do.
that's yeah, I like that idea. I think Major League Baseball that needs to be the next step. Let's go ahead and get those teams who want to do that in there. Last thing I'll say about all of it, obviously the passing of Willie Mays. I mean, it sucks that he couldn't be there in his hometown. He wasn't going to be there, but it did feel like that event was set up obviously for Willie Mays. I mean, the greatest living baseball player at the time before he passed. And then I just thought the tributes all week were amazing. My dad said he's the greatest player he's ever seen in his life. I think everyone from my dad's generation, my dad's 87, Willie Mays is the greatest baseball player they ever saw. The argument would be between him and Hank Aaron. I understand that. Obviously, when you get to New York, DiMaggio and Mantle come into that argument for New Yorkers, and I understand that. You and I agree. But I just thought there was no doubt that you could feel Willie's presence, and his son talked about that beforehand. The whole thing, it gets me chills talking about. It was incredible.
Yeah, it sucks. Like Willie and Hank and Bob Gibson and Lou Brock and all the guys we've lost over the last 5, 6 years, Joe Morgan, like it's been a ton of them. It sucks how many legends we're losing right now. It feels like we're running low on them at this
Yeah.
point because of how many we've lost. But it almost felt like, obviously you never want anyone to pass, but it almost felt like he did it on purpose. He was
I
like, this is like, it's the perfect time to celebrate him. Like that,
yeah.
for him to live his 93 years of the most incredible life you could live, to go to war and come back and win an MVP immediately. And just look at his stats, dude. He had 660 home runs, 3,000 hits, 300 stolen bases. Like he did everything. 21 All-Star games is
24.
crazy.
24.
24 All-Star games, even crazier than 21. And like I'm not glad that he passed, obviously. That's horrible. But I'm glad that we were able to have an event to celebrate him right after he did. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
He deserves it,
That,
dude. He's not talked about enough. We talk about Babe Ruth all the time. We talked about Hank Aaron a lot. Willie Mays is the best, greatest center fielder of all time, and I think anyone who watched him play will say he's the best player of all time. So
Yeah,
hopefully
my
we can start
favorite
talking
Mays
about him
story
more.
of all time was listening back in the day when Mike Shannon would talk about Willie Mays, because obviously they played against each other for a long,
Mhm.
long time. And he said, I think back in the day, I don't know if there were less than four umpires. I should know that. I don't know if that's a real thing or if there were three. Either way, he said there were many times that Mays would be on second and there'd be a hit in the outfield and Shannon would be playing third, and Mays would cut third base. Like he never even came close to touching the base. Like he would cut in front and he would be laughing at Mike the entire way home because nobody was watching him because they just expected him to score
Yeah.
anyway. And Mike Shannon said it happened so many times that he wasn't even close. He's like, I'm looking at the umpires and they're like, well, Willie's going to score like on that. And he said he'd
Yeah.
just be laughing the entire way home because he knew that he wasn't within like 15 feet of the base.
Yeah.
That's
I got a
awesome.
couple more things. One, the crazy stat I saw yesterday about Willie Mays was he's the only player to ever hit a home run in every inning 1 through 16. That's incredible to hit a home run in 16 different innings. But also, we can't forget, now you're speaking about umpires, first ever black umpire
Correct.
in Major League Baseball. Well, ALNL is what they said. But I think in Major League Baseball history, like the league itself. That's awesome. Like whatever you think of some of those umpires, I don't care. I saw people on social media talking about it. Don't. That's a great
Don't.
moment for all of
Right.
those guys. I think it was Alan Porter, CB Buckner, Laz Diaz, and I can't remember the other
Yeah,
guy.
we should
But
know that. But
yeah, no, I should probably look that up actually.
just to
So
piggyback while you're looking that up off of your 16 inning stats, like the 1 through 16, the wilder stat to me was that he broke up a scoreless tie in against what was it, Juan Marichal and Bob Feller? Am I correct on those two that were pitching still in the 16th inning when Mays hit his home run in the 16th? That's the craziest stat to
yeah,
me.
yeah, that's crazy. All right, I was wrong. Laz Diaz was not there, but it was Adrian Johnson and Malachi Moore were the other two, and
Okay.
Jeremy Rehawk.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool
Awesome.
that those
Yep.
five were able to do that.
What a cool event for the Cardinals to be involved in. What a cool event for the Giants to be involved in. I just thought it was like I've loved the Field of Dreams games. I think those are super cool because
Super
that's
cool,
one of
yeah.
my favorite movies. But last night just felt different. That felt like maybe one of the coolest events I've ever seen as far as Major League Baseball goes. So awesome.
Also,
Let's move on to
shout
the
out Major
Cardinals.
League Baseball and the Cardinals for putting a Willie Mays patch on their jersey as well. I said
Agreed.
that right after he passed it. That's what they needed to do. I'm glad they did it.
Yeah.
Everyone needed to have one on yesterday, so I was glad.
So let's get to the Cardinals a little bit because we have been gone for a while. And we do appreciate you guys tuning back in. Hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate that. Those numbers continue to go up. Thank you all so much. Thank you for being patient. We did have a great time in Florida. Took a little bit more time when we got back to New Orleans to do a few things, and now we're back on the roll. Since May 12th, Cardinals, I think it's best record in the National League, but I did hear a stat that it could be
Second
the
best.
Phillies, so second best.
Phillies
Second
passed
best
them.
record in the National League. Things starting to stabilize a little bit. You're going to get Wilson Contreras back. You're going to get Lars Nootbaar back. Eventually, you're going to get Tommy Edman and Riley O'Brien back, I would assume.
Riley
The
O'Brien's up in the
bullpen is
air.
something we'll talk about a little bit later. Steven Matz had a little bit of a setback. That's something I think we have to address at some point. Um, Little concerned with the starting pitching has kind of hit a little wall, nothing big, but a little wall there, and that is obviously taxing the bullpen. But I thought it was super cool to see Kloffenstein come in last night. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know if it's Kloffenstein or Kloffenstein. They said Stein on TV. I'm going to roll with it. And then John Keane was really good last night after kind of mopping up for Kittredge, who kind of struggled.
Yeah, Klovenstein obviously back down to AAA today. We all knew that was going to happen.
Correct.
But yeah, a great moment for him. He said he didn't even know it was the eighth inning, which honestly probably worked in his favor that he didn't know he was holding a 1 run lead in the eighth inning in his first game at Rickwood Field. I'd imagine that would have added some pressure. He probably didn't think that's where he was going to be, but I thought he was really good. As for the starting pitching, Lance Lynn's a concern. Just straight up, he's got to be way better than he's been. He's got to go deeper. He's got to be more effective. He's really not providing you anything right now, to be honest. I'm a Lance Lynn fan, but he's got to be better. Are you talking about maybe by August he's a guy that needs to be out of the rotation, so he has to be way better. But I think Kyle Gibson's been awesome. Had a back problem, he should be fine. Sonny Gray's been great, and Palante's been serviceable. I think Michaelis has also been awesome. So 3/5
I
of the
will
rotation has been really good, and Palante's been serviceable. Lance Lynn's my only concern right now.
I will definitely give my praise to Miles Michaelis. Everybody on here knows I've been very critical of him, and I will continue to do so. But he has been a godsend, honestly, right now when you needed him to be. Um, I want to talk a little bit about this because I think this is a really interesting conversation because we are starting to heat up with the trade deadline, a little over a month away.
Month and
It's
a half, yeah.
when you have so many teams in it, do you kind of look at the fact that it's going to be tough for the Cardinals to make a trade for one of these top guys? Because I mean, you're hearing every team is looking for starting pitching and
Yeah.
relief pitching, like every team. And when you're looking at bidding, and the Cardinals farm system has gone up the ranks. They were in the 20s. I think they're in the mid-teens now. But when you're dealing against the Phillies, you're dealing against the Orioles, who, by the way, can probably go get
They're the
anybody they
problem.
want.
Yeah.
They can go get anybody what they want. The Yankees are willing to always overpay. The Dodgers are a factory. They're going to be in that discussion.
Padres will make trades.
The pod. So I, my concern is I think this team, and I said it a while ago. I think if the offense gets healthy, they can be scary, especially if, knock on wood, Nolan Arenado finally gets going, which might or might not happen. But if he does, but you've got to do something with that rotation. You've talked about adding somebody that slots either ahead of, but probably behind Sonny Gray. I think
Yeah,
it's going to
behind
be
him.
really tough for the Cardinals to make a deal like that unless there's a few teams who decide, hey, we might be what you consider in it, like the Orioles did a couple years ago, but we're not buyers. We'd rather go ahead and get rid of some expiring contracts, and we're playing for 2025.
Yeah, you really need some teams to fall off. But for me, like this can be Mo needs to make a smart trade. It doesn't have to be a guy where you look and immediately know that he's better than Kyle Gibson definitively. But it can be like 2022 where you trade a Harrison Bader. And I don't know if they don't have that guy right now, but just work with me for a second. Where you trade a guy like that to a contending team for a guy that you can make better in-house, like Jordan Montgomery. The pitch is like a two. You know what I mean? You don't trade with a guy that has that upside. Like, and you like if the Rangers fall off, like they're in danger of falling off here. Max Scherzer might be available. There are going to be people available that we might not even know right now. But it's on them. They got to find a way. Like if you push it off to the deadline, like they did by getting the guys they got in the offseason, who largely have worked out, but you knew you're going to need more at the deadline if you wanted to be a legitimate contender, which we'll see if they actually want to be that or not if they make a trade. But it's on them. They got to figure it out. Make a smart trade. Make one we don't see coming. Maybe that's Jesus Lazardo who's having a tough year, but you see something in him you can figure out because you know how talented that guy is. But I'm not worried about it yet because teams will fall off, and a lot of teams don't like trading prospects because prospects save them money in the long run. So I don't know. There might be people just that are in it but look to make trades anyway,
Let me throw you a
like the Mets
name
did a couple years ago.
that I think to keep in mind, and fans will either love this or they'll hate this because that's what this guy does. But Jack Flaherty's a guy who's going to be, I think,
Do you think
sought
they do
after.
that?
I don't know. I don't know that
I
answer.
don't.
I don't know how fractured that relationship is. It's the same with Monty. Like I don't know that answer. I
Yeah,
if Jack wants to come back to St. Louis, I think that's an option. I honestly believe he's probably going to end up with the Dodgers. That just seems to make way too much sense. That's probably, if they're going to trade him,
I'm
that's a
tired of
place he
talking about the
probably goes.
Dodgers.
But that's a guy that I would
Well,
love to
back
see.
to
I
the
mean, what a year
Orioles.
he's had. I
Yeah,
don't think he's going back to the
he's
Orioles.
been awesome. He's going to get paid a lot of money in the offseason
Yes.
just because of the compare situation. Are you frozen?
No, I'm not frozen. You kind of muted. I wonder if you hit mute or something there just for a second.
I don't know. Whatever. Sorry about that, but I'm not
That's
editing it
okay.
out. So,
That's all right.
I don't think the
Yeah, I just
Cardinals
think
would
it's
do
going to
it,
be
even
interesting.
though I think they should.
Yeah. And honestly, also to be fair, I'm sure there are people. In fact, I know there are who are watching right now who have dug a little bit deeper into who could be available. Obviously, the big names are the Lazardos. They're the
Verlander,
Verlander. They're the Montgomerys. Potentially the Scherzers. Potentially guys like that. Who am I missing? There was another one that you talked about before. You
Framber,
were, huh?
Framber Valdez.
Yeah, I don't know. There was another guy that it's escaping me. But either way, I think it's gonna
I
be
have a
interesting to see what
question.
happens. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of conjecture on social media about this, and I completely disagree with it. But a lot of people are saying that they don't think this team is worth investing in if they're close. And I'm gonna make my point. I'm gonna ask you what you think about it. I think that anytime you have a chance to get in the postseason with a lineup like they have that can get hot and really just destroy teams, like if the Cardinals get 4/5 of their lineup, 4/9 of their lineup right now is not on the team. While we're talking about Walker, Edmund, Nootbaar, and Contreras, like those four guys could be starting in September and they're not even on the team right now. So I think this lineup could be really, really dangerous. And when you have a team like that, where if you add a guy that slots by Sonny Gray, and or at least performs that way, they could go on a run and win the World Series. They got the bullpen to do it. I think they have the closer to do it at least. Why would you not take a chance on that? Like no one
Well,
thought 2011 they were going to win. No one thought 2006 they were going to win, but everybody thought in 04 and 05 and in 2013 they were going to win. They didn't. So you never know when your magical season is going to happen. I would hate to see the front office decide that this is not a team worth investing in with Goldie on his last year, with Arenado, like who knows how many years left of even being average he has based on how he's playing this year. I think when you're this close, and I really do think their team is close. Do you hear that?
Yeah, we got the planes flying
Sorry, there's
over.
a plane flying over. I don't understand the mindset of fans that say, well, let's just play for next year. How long are we going to do that? At
No,
some
you
point, you got to try and make a run.
that's in my mind that's a loser's mentality because if that's what you're going to if you're going to say that, then you just need to wipe clean house and deal everyone and then invest in the next 5 years. But
Right.
that's not what the Cardinals ownership's going to do. And honestly,
Or
that's
should
not
they
what
do?
Cards fans should want them to do. Like
No.
I want to be competitive and in the playoffs every year. That's what I
Mhm.
want because as we've seen, I mean, especially 2011, when everybody thought we had no shot against Philadelphia, like that, and then you go in and you get a Chris Carpenter outing like no one had ever seen probably before since Bob Gibson with the Cardinals.
Mhm.
You get something like that. You just never know. We saw it last year. We literally saw it last year with Arizona. We've seen it in the last few years with teams who've gotten in and just gotten hot at the right time. This happens in baseball. What you have to be doing is playing your best ball come September and October. And like you said, I still think Jordan Walker can be the X factor. I there's just something about it that feels like he can still be that guy that come maybe
Mhm.
in I don't know if it's July or August or when it is that they bring him up. I just hope that they're not so reluctant to do it that they just let him sit down there
I
when potentially he's ready to go.
don't
And I
you
understand people are going to point it as OBP, that it's around seven,
care.
whatever. I don't care. I do not care about that. He's working on things. Nobody's going to look at his OBP at AAA and take that seriously.
OPS.
And if you do, what I say? OBP.
You
That's what
said
I meant.
OBP. If he
OPS.
had a
My
700
apologies.
OBP, he'd be back up.
Yeah, my apologies. I'm an OPS. I'm just not taking that seriously because he's working on things. They're way more concerned with the swing than the outcome.
And he had a great swing yesterday, a couple of them. He's starting to get high. He
Okay.
has 6 extra base hits like the last 2 weeks. I, Alec Burleson has made it really tough to bring Jordan Walker back up. Because if you do that and Tommy Edman and Lars Noot are coming back by the All-Star break, where are you playing him?
Okay, I think this is where it's time for Ollie and the boys to be creative. If we're going to be really honest,
But
because
what are
I
you doing?
think here's what I'm doing. If you want to know, I want my best. I've always said this, and you can. I think I want my best nine on the field the majority of games. Okay, and if
Right.
Jordan Walker is what you feel is your best nine, then Alec Burleson is your DH, and you move Lars Noot to center field. And I
Isn't
know
the
the
problem
arg.
that he's not definitively your top nine? Like he's not
Okay,
definitively that.
then if he isn't, they're going to leave him in Memphis until maybe they feel like he is.
That's what they're
That's all
gonna
I'm saying.
do.
But
Because
what
he's
I'm
not
also
definitively a better major league player than Tommy Edman right now. He's not. He
the
can be,
upside
but
is
he's not.
definitively better.
Okay, the upside of a lot of players is higher, but that doesn't mean the upside of Moises Gomez might be higher, but he's not going to do anything about it. Like I think Jordan Walker is better, is going to be way better. But if I were to say right now who I would bank on giving you league average production, I'd bank on Tommy Edman over Walker right now.
Okay, I don't know that I agree with that. I think if you get Jordan Walker back up, what we saw with Walker in the second half last year
Yeah, he's really
was
good.
I don't understand why we don't think that he can do that again.
I
Like I just
do,
don't get
but
that.
he's not even doing that at AAA right now.
That's what
Like,
I'm saying. See,
but that's
okay,
the reality
that's
of it,
now
Dad. He's
you're
got
making
to
the argument that I
no,
just
but
said
his
don't make.
yeah, but I don't agree with that even. Like his job was to go down there and work his way back. He has not been good. That's on him. Like he was horrible at the major league level. Horrible. And then he's been mediocre at if he was just a prospect, you would not be talking about calling him up right now. No way.
Okay, all right.
Like
Well, then
he's got to be better.
that's.
Like simple. He's got to be. He has 3 home runs on the year. Mason Wynn
Can
ain't
I
doing
also
that.
be honest? I think assuming that Tommy Edmonds going to slide in and all of a sudden be anybody that you can count on offensively is also potentially not the way we should be looking at
I mean,
things.
his career would say differently.
If we're
He's
going to be
been a
really
league average
honest,
hitter his whole career.
okay, if you're wanting to keep Jordan Walker down, I still think Lars is my center fielder, and then my DH is I'm it's Herrera or Contreras. Because that's your best hitters. Like we're treating Ivan Herrera like he's not hitting well, which he has been all year. And I understand that if you then let's keep 3 catchers and let's go ahead and put our best 9 hitters in the all because you got to score runs, especially with Lynn
The
and
Cardinals don't
Gibson
have
and
nine
those guys.
hitters that are hitting better than Tommy Edman produces every year. They don't. They just don't. It's like not even arguable. Tommy Edman hits better than Nolan Arenado's hitting right now.
Okay,
He
so
is. He
you
does.
okay?
Like he really does. His
We have
career
no
is
clue when
100
Tommy
OPS
Edmond is coming
plus.
back. Like we know
I
nothing.
agree. And I'm not saying Jordan Walker shouldn't be back up. I'm saying he has not put himself in a spot where he's clearly one of the 9 guys you need to put in the lineup every day. He hasn't. Like Alec Burleson has. He took that job right from him. Like if you're gonna have an outfielder that can hit and can't field super well, Burleson's a clear choice for me over Jordan Walker right now. Like I want Jordan Walker to be that guy, and I think he can. And he's hitting better right now at AAA. And I honestly think right now would be a good time to call him up. That way you get him opportunity before Nootbaar and Edmund are back to see if he can stick. But it just sucks that he hasn't taken advantage of it. Like he had an opportunity to begin the year and he didn't take advantage of it. And an outfield that's been kind of thin, they haven't even called him up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know that I agree with Tommy Edman being a better offensive performer than Herrera, if we're going to be honest.
What's Herrera's OPS plus?
Right now, I'm looking. Hold on.
It's probably in 90s, I would guess.
Why can I not
That's,
find anything on here? Because
I'll
right now
find
he's a
it.
718 OPS. Tommy was 690 last year.
Okay, so they're close, and one plays elite defensive center field.
I understand. I understand that. But
So
what I'm
who's more
saying is,
valuable?
okay, all right.
Well, it's not even close.
I just
You
think
could
that
play
you're
good center
expecting
field and
Tommy
do
Edman to
that
come in after he hasn't played in 12 months and be the
and be
Tommy Edman that
average.
you. I don't know. I mean, how do we know? That's what I'm
I don't
saying.
know,
We
but
don't
you're
know.
not going to not give it. You have to give him a chance. I mean, he's earned that. There's no doubt he's earned the chance to come back and start for 5 years over the last 5 years. You
Okay.
can't bring that guy back and bench him. There's no way. If I mean, maybe he at the end of the day, what might end up happening is you platoon him with someone, with Gorman, maybe. Like that might be what you end up doing, down the stretch. And I think Tommy Edmonds' best ability on this team in a playoff run would be to be the platoon guy that bats against lefties and can come in as a defensive replacement literally anywhere on the field. That's probably the best he can be. But right now, Jordan Walker has to definitively prove that he's better than him, and he hasn't done that.
Well, it does bring up the point that I was kind of going to lead into to the fact that when they are healthy, let's say you have Edman, you have Newt, and let's say you have Contreras, and let's discount
Walker.
Jordan Walker for right now. All right, if what are you looking at roster wise? Obviously, Fermin is going to be sent down. Do you
Mhm.
believe Pajes is sent down? And then who's the third? Is it Michael
Okay,
Ciani? Is
so
it
are we saying when all three of those guys are back, Tommy,
yeah? Is it
Nootbaar,
DFA
and
Brandon Crawford? What is the answer
yeah,
there?
when Tommy Edmonds back, Crawford should be gone. And that sucks for Crawford. That's just a reality of the roster. Um, and then Nootbaar will probably replace. I mean, I'd keep Ciani on the roster. I think so. What would it be? Ciani, Carlson, Herrera, and who else would be your last bench
Hold
guy?
on. If we're bringing okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. If we're bringing three players back,
Yeah,
obviously then you're saying Crawford, Pajes, and
for me,
Fermin are the three off the roster
that yeah,
that are
those are three would
currently
be
on
gone.
there right now. And then you don't have to
Yeah,
mess with the 40-man roster, and you're going to carry then the extra outfielders with Carlson and Ciani out there.
yeah, because you have Edmund who can be a backup shortstop.
Let me ask you this. You talk quite a bit about, and I brought this up in the past, about the chemistry in the clubhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Crawford absolutely loved in that clubhouse right now. Mason
Mm-hmm.
Wynn has talked about him glowingly. Brendan Donovan has talked about him glowingly. Nolan Gorman has talked about him glowingly. What does that like? Do you start to think why carry Ciani and Carlson? And also, to be fair, Brandon Crawford hasn't hit poorly. Like, if we're going to be honest, I mean, first game at
He
third
hasn't
base
hit
last
well
night.
enough to stay on the
I
roster.
understand it, but neither is Dylan Carlson or Michael Ciani. So isn't the answer almost there? Why would you have five outfielders and six real? I mean, do you
I
see what I'm
mean,
saying?
I
I'm
don't.
intrigued to
Okay,
find that out.
here's the thing. Dylan Carlson is going to be a guy you play against lefties, so that's his role. That can play corner outfield and be an upgrade in those spots. Over whoever else you have in the corners, so he can be a defensive replacement. Siani's a defensive replacement that can pinch run. So that's really the roster you want. Like you want
Okay.
those two guys on your bench. And
Okay.
Tommy Edmond to me, like he's an out because then you're talking two of your three outfielders are Donovan and Edmond. They're utility men.
Okay. And it
So you
also
have the
kind of
backups
leads
covered everywhere.
to the fact that when you have a full roster, it does give Ollie a lot of flexibility to move guys around and give guys
Yeah.
days off if he needs to. Which, by the way, I'm a big fan of. Tony did that for years, and
Yeah.
obviously people don't understand that, but he did that to keep people fresh, and it
Yeah.
also keeps your bench fresh, which is also a good thing.
I also think people like looking at that as just five outfielders. They have a very unique roster that they need to treat like they have a unique roster with Edmund and Donovan both healthy because those two guys can play everywhere. So you don't need a bench guy that can back up Arenado and win because you have Edmund and Donovan that can do that.
In
So you
your
don't
mind,
need to
who's
have an
more
extra spot with
valuable,
that.
Brandon Crawford or Matt Carpenter?
Um, Matt Carpenter's a better hitter, so I keep him on the bench.
Okay, just to give a guy a late inning at bat. I don't know
We've
who it's
seen
going to be
him
for,
win us
but
games.
yeah, okay, that's fair. That's
Like
fair.
he came in the Cubs game and won us that game. because of the
Now,
head he
as we're
had.
talking about the catching situation, obviously with Willie, I mean, my guess is if he's not back this weekend, he's back Monday. Like
I
that's
think he'll
my
be back.
guess.
Is he in the
Um,
lineup today in
well, they don't play
Memphis?
today, so oh, in
They
Memphis.
don't?
I was gonna,
Let's
I
say
thought
they
you meant
definitely
St.
do.
Louis. I was like, oh, we do not play today.
If he's in,
Um,
I would think he's back at the very latest Monday, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's back tomorrow.
do where do you stand on the Pajes v. Herrera thing? I don't love the way they've treated Herrera, but I also
Oh, I
do
hate it.
understand the fact that
I
he
don't.
cannot throw anybody out on the bases. But if we're going to be fair, like either your options are keep three catchers, or if you're going to send somebody down, to me, it's very simple. It's Pajes. And no offense, I know he's been good defensively, but Wilson Contreras is going to be your main catcher.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a guy who's a backup, I'd much rather have Herrera to give you a right-handed bat off the bench, or also a guy who can DH when there's days off against a tough lefty. If we're going to be honest.
Yeah, I keep all three of them on the roster until Newbar and Edmund are back, just because I think Pies gives you the flexibility to pinch hit Herrera whenever you want and not worry about, or NDH him whenever you want and not worry about dropping the DH. So I would keep him up for now. But the way they've handled Herrera is just stupid. They're doing the same thing they did to Contreras last year. They're doing
Yeah.
it again.
Yep.
It's dumb. Like how many base runners has Pies thrown out? One.
Yeah.
Like they're also, by the way, I noticed yesterday, Pies doesn't even call pitches. He
No.
looks through the dugout for every pitch.
At the
So what
major
is
league
he there
level,
for?
by the way.
And that's not a Pajas thing. That's
No,
whatever they're
that's a
doing
Cardinals
thing.
thing.
But like Pedro's done a great. He won us the Cubs series. That was awesome. Coleman was there, but he's not a major league hitter right now. Like he will be maybe eventually, but right now he's not. And the way that they're handling Herrera horribly, dude. Like you knew his deficiencies in the offseason. You knew them, and you committed to him. So commit to him. Stop doing this. It's so stupid. And like, yeah, maybe he'll give up. Maybe tell your pitchers to stop letting guys take incredible jumps off them all the time.
Correct.
Like none of these
Or
guys that he's not throwing out, he doesn't even have a chance half the time.
or throwing over twice, so the guy is obviously going to run.
Why do they do that so much? They do that more than any team in
All the
baseball.
time, more than any team I've seen. And then Herrera's like, oh well, he can't throw anybody out. Yeah, the guy's halfway off first base because your pitcher
Yeah.
threw over twice. Like nobody wants to take that into account
And
either.
then
I don't
then
think.
when teams do that against us, they don't even steal afterwards.
No, and we get
It's
thrown out stealing because we get terrible
the
jumps when they
base
can't throw
running,
over there.
the base stealing specifically has been something that has been a massively lopsided advantage for other teams. We're getting
And it
thrown out
shouldn't
more
be.
than any team in baseball, I feel like. Like Mason
Yeah.
Wynn gets thrown out all the time. And so Siani. And the two guys that should not be getting thrown out. So there's something that they're doing that's not right with that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that we definitely need to keep in the back of our minds because, I mean, I see all these teams stealing so many bases and the Cardinals are not. And
They
it does
just
feel like
don't.
when we go, we're thrown out when we should be stealing
Unless
easily.
you're Goldie. Goldie's the only one that doesn't get thrown out.
The rules are set up to steal bases right now, guys. That's
Yeah.
part of also why Herrera is struggling to throw is the rules are set up to steal. So,
And also, like, here another thing. What do your coaches do? Can they fix anything? What flaw in a player have they fixed? They
yeah,
just send them down or bench them. Fix it, somebody. You don't
right.
have anyone there that could tell them how to be better at throwing?
Yeah.
Like, good God, fix something. They haven't fixed one thing this year.
Well, wasn't
Goldie and
that
Nolan
supposed to
still
be?
can't hit.
Well, I was told that Yachty was going to fix everything because he was
He's not
coming
even
in.
there. But still, and that's obviously like hyperbolic what I just said. They fix things, obviously. But for real, like Ryan Helsley can't command a fastball still. It's been 3 weeks. Someone do something positive. Like I don't get it. I'm sure they work hard, but at some point they've got to fix some of these guys' deficiencies. At some point.
Speaking of those deficiencies, at some point, I mean, I know Mark DeRosa always talks about the stats on the back of a baseball card. Hey, Nolan Arenado, it's time to step up, bro. It's time to step up. I'm tired of
If his
hearing.
elbow's not broken.
Well, it's not. So the MRA came
He had
back
a wrap he
clean.
had
So,
on it yesterday. That thing
yeah,
has to be.
but
He might be out again
at,
tomorrow.
at some point, he's got to start hitting. Like
Yeah.
I'm tired. He's way below league average with runners at third base and less than 2 outs. Like way below league average, like
Oh, it's just
51%. He's at like 32%.
I think
That can't
league
happen.
average was 55 and he was at like 20.
So let's talk about this, okay? At some point, he's got to be moved way down in the lineup. You can no longer have him clogging up the 4 spot
But
when you
for
do
who?
have guys producing.
Okay, to be fair, against righties, he's been batting fifth.
Okay.
So and Gorman's been batting fourth, who's been awful.
He
God,
has
he's
been.
been awful.
Although
He's got to
actually,
figure it out too.
he took 3 really good at bats last night. He
He
did.
struck out twice again. I don't care. Figure it out.
I understand that.
He's striking out like 80% of the time the last 2 weeks. Figure it
Yeah.
out.
I
Like, you
don't
can't be this
understand that
streaky.
either.
You can be streaky. You can't be this streaky. It's bad. Unless you're gonna hit 50 home runs like Kyle Schwarber, you cannot go through streaks where you're just a net zero. Like you can't. But
Yeah.
for Arenado, I don't know if it's just the age. Like maybe it's just a decline of his career, and it happens to everyone. It happened to Albert Pujols. It happens to people at different ages. But I don't want to believe that. I have a hard time blaming him if that is the case. Because it just happens. Like he can't do anything about it. He can't make his body not hurt. He can't make his back better. Like he didn't do it. He played hard for like he was one of those guys that they always talked about playing so hard that he was going to break down. Ken Griffey Jr. Perfect example. If Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't running and jumping into walls all the time, he probably would have hit 700 home runs. But that's how he played. So I have a hard time like berating Nolan, even though it's very frustrating when watching him, because I do think some of it's just he's wearing down. I hope that's not the case. I think he's a guy that I'm looking to have a big second half of the season.
Okay.
He's going to get a week off for the All-Star break. I think that'll do wonders for him. And that's just a chance to reset, not worry about anything. I think that's going to be good for him. Until then, I don't know if he's going to do much. So he's my second half player of the year. I'm picking it. I think he's going to have a big second half.
Okay. I love to hear that. Actually, I just feel like we've been saying that since last year. Like that,
last year's an All-Star. Like he was good in the
I
first
know,
half
but second half he was not good.
He was
First half
hurt.
this year he was not been good. So
Yeah,
there is a concern there. And my only main point is let's not just I understand that you got to keep him in the lineup, and I'd probably hit him sixth if we're going to be really honest.
I mean,
right
fifth
now,
and sixth. What's the difference?
I mean
You know what I mean? Like
when Newt and Willie are back, there's a big difference. That's what
well,
I'll
they're
say.
not back though.
Okay, but they're
I
going to
will
be
say
back
now
in a
that
week.
Donovan's hitting, I agree. Like now that Donovan's hitting, I think the lineup you can almost have to roll out there is bat Donovan first, Wynn second, and Burleson third. Get your
See,
three
I
best hitters
disagree
up
with
there.
that, but that's okay. That's all right.
Why? What would you do? Keep
I
Wynn at leadoff?
I love Brendan Donovan in that 5 slot. I really do.
He's not
And
a power hitter.
he had a great night in the 5 slot last night.
He was in the 5 slot because Nolan was. I bet him first. I think he's a great leadoff
Okay,
hitter.
that's fine. I think
And that's
Mason
fine.
wins are. I like Mason Wynn in the leadoff spot. That's what I'll say.
I don't care. Just get those three guys in the top three right now.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
Goldie cannot be batting third anymore. Bet him fourth.
Yep.
Because like get him with runners in scoring position because even though he's been really bad in those spots, but he's just not the on base guy he used to be, which is why he batted second the last couple of years because he gets on base at such a crazy rate. But yeah, those two just need to get going. Goldie's been better. I think I saw he was like 30% above league average the last month and a half ish. So that's obviously keep doing that for the rest of the year. But for Noel, like I've said this, I don't care what your year-long stats even look like. It's been so poor for the first what's it been, 2 months, 3 months?
3 months, yeah.
Whatever. However many months it's been. It's been so poor for that amount of time that it's almost a guarantee his year-long stats aren't going to bounce back to what you wanted coming in. From here on out, he needs to be better. That's all I care about. But if he's good in September, awesome. If he's on fire and I'll finally get an October run from Nolan where he looks like a competent hitter, then I'll take that over, having a good March through June.
Right. A couple things we did not throw in there. First of all, happy Father's Day, belated to all of the fathers that are out there, and also happy June 19th. Like 2 big events in our country this week.
Otherwise known as Juneteenth.
A lot of people. Juneteenth, yeah, June 19th. That's what I was getting to. Thank you for cutting me off, though, but I was going to get there. But yeah, for June 19th and Juneteenth, obviously my wife's birthday as well. So yes, thank you for that. But I was getting there, so I appreciate that.
You watched the Kendrick concert?
Father's Day. Happy to all of you who pay attention and celebrate all of those. Fantastic to deal with, and we were not around to talk about those. So let's talk a little bit. In a few weeks, we got the All-Star game coming up. How many Cardinals do you think make it? If you were to say that right now, June 21st, 2024, how many Cardinals do you think are wearing those god-awful hats in Arlington right down the road?
3. I think Mason, Sonny, and Ryan Helsley make it.
Okay. You think Mason Wynn gets in?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be Tovar and him. And Ellie. I think those are going to be 3 shortstops.
No. Okay. No. Yeah. With Mookie out. That makes okay.
Mookie will like be voted in, but I think they'll obviously replace him because he's going to be out.
Okay. Remember a week ago you told me Nolan Gorman was a for sure All-Star.
He was, and then he got through another slump.
What if he gets hot again?
Last year too. Then he might get in.
Okay. No Burley.
No, I mean the DH in the National League. You have Ozuna and Ohtani who are just going to go immediately.
I agree. I wish that what they would do. I love the voting and I understand it.
You're going to give me your opinion?
Huh?
On the number?
No, I think I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Wilson Contreras would have been an All-Star with his brother.
He might still. Honestly, if he comes back has a good next 3 weeks, he could get in.
I wish we would just vote for 9 guys and then just throw guys out there. Like, let's let Ozuna and Ohtani be in the All-Star game. Let's let Bryce Harper play the outfield if we need to. So that gets us another guy into the All-Star game. Whatever it is, I wish they would do. They're not going to,
I
but I
don't
wish they would.
agree with that. What I do hate is that infield and the outfield is positionless and the infield isn't.
Yeah, right.
Like it makes no sense. Why when did we decide the outfield positions just don't matter and the
Why
infield
can't we
ones
just
do?
put Ozuna in left field and let him climb a wall on a ball that lands 20 feet in front of him for the All-Star game? Because
In an
he's
ideal
better
world,
than
Marcelo Ozuna wouldn't be good enough to be in the All-Star game, but we're not living in that reality.
we are not currently living in that world. In that ML or in that NL, man, you got like 8 teams fighting for 3 spots. This is going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be this is where Nolan Arenado to me, and you're talking about his second half. That's the guy who has to step up. That's the guy who could be a separator. Like he
Yeah, he
legitimately could
can.
be a separator. We've seen Austin Riley get hot in Atlanta. We've seen guys like that you need who started off sluggishly start
Ozzy
to hit.
Albies.
Ozzy Albies. We're starting to see Corbin Carroll hit in Arizona. It might be too little, too late there. I don't know that
He's hurt, right?
answer. Well, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. He's playing every night. But
He was hurt, but he's fine now, I guess.
yeah, they thought it was worse than it was, but it wasn't. So you're starting to see these guys who started off sluggishly get going. Obviously, we saw Aaron Judge really struggle in the first month. He now has 27 home runs. So
Yeah.
Nolan Arenado is an X factor that I think has to step up for this team to take that leap come September and October.
Okay, yeah, I agree. How many wins would you guess? It's obviously we don't know. It would take to get into the playoffs. 84.
So right now you're at 37 and 37. That's 74 games in. So that leaves you with 88 games, right?
Yep. I'm gonna say
Some
84 wins gets you in.
so 40
That's what the Diamondbacks won last year to get in.
so 47 and 41 get you in. I think you I think you might have to get to 86. I think you might
Maybe. I don't think
I think
so. They didn't have to last year, and this is
you
more
just
mid
think
than it
all
was
these
last
teams are going to keep
year.
meddling along. I mean, the Mets are playing
That's
dramatically better.
what I wanted to go through. Okay, that's what I wanted to go through. Disregarding Miami and Colorado, every other team aside from the top four, obviously, which are the Braves, Dodgers, Brewers, and Phillies. Outside of those four teams, every other team besides the Rockies and the Marlins are within a game and a half of a playoff spot. I want to go through these teams. Tell me which teams you think are above average. We'll go quickly. What
Okay.
teams can get to 86 wins? That's the number you threw out.
I think 86 is my number. Yeah.
Can the Reds get there? 35 and 39.
No, they don't have enough pitching.
Okay, so that's one team that won't get you there. Giants, can they get there? 36 and 40.
Somehow magically, yes, they will figure out a way to get there.
Mets
Or with a
35
chance.
Mets 35 and 38. I don't think
Yes,
so.
I think they
I
can
really
because
don't.
I think they're starting to wake up. I think they've got the pitching, and I think also we know that Steve Cohen will be
They don't
aggressive if
have the
he needs to be.
pitching. Name
Well,
me three
honestly,
starters.
well, Severino has been good,
They get
right?
hurt.
There's always that possibility. Who else? Who am I? Quintana's
John
been good.
Mania and Quintana. Yeah, they're not getting in. Okay.
I mean, I'm not
That's
saying they're
their
getting
three.
in.
They don't
That's
even
not
have
what
a
I'm
closer
predicting.
anymore.
I think
Evan
that
Diaz is awful.
I think that they have a shot to get hot.
You
That's
think
all
they
I'm
could
saying.
get to 86 wins? That team.
Yeah, I do.
They're gonna
I'm
have to
not saying
stop
they
Steve
will.
Cohen from selling first, is what they're gonna have to do.
That is true.
Cubs. I think they could.
I do not. I think that offense is dreadful.
The Cubs are better than the Mets.
I disagree. I did that offense, and I've heard other people talk about it, and when they said it, it was so true. Everybody in that lineup is exactly the same human. Like 1 through 9, you can just interchange them. You were talking about the other day, the guy leading their team in OBP or OPS is hitting like
Mike
8s for
Tauchman.
them. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
like that they all look the same now. I know Dansby's starting to hit a little bit. Obviously, you
Yeah.
got Belly there. I do not trust that offense at all. Christopher Morel
They're
is there.
bad.
Nolan Gorman. Like I don't trust that team one bit.
Yeah. Christopher Morel, I think, is going to be way better than he's been, but he has not been good.
And I think their pitching's not good either, if we're gonna be honest. Outside of Imanaga.
It's been really good. It's been really good though. Like
I think
Justin
it's
Steele is a really good pitcher.
I think it's exceeded where it should be, but okay.
Yeah, I agree. But Justin Steele is, I think, a really good pitcher. Nationals, no way, right? And they're
No, I think they're a
close to
year
every other
away.
team.
I think they're a year away,
Yeah.
potentially. But boy, they're fun to watch. I really like that team come the future.
Okay, Pirates. I don't think so.
The reason I say no on the Pirates is for 2 reasons. I don't think they make a trade to add a bat, which they
Yeah, I don't
desperately
either.
need to do.
They need
They'll
2
probably
or
go
3.
sign Dan Vogelbach. Is what they'll do, who was just
Probably.
released by the Blue Jays. But I also could see them shutting Skeens and Jones down come
Yeah,
whatever that innings limit is, which sucks for Pittsburgh. But I think they're kind of in that Nationals boat where they're maybe a year away, but they're also an owner away. So
they're a year away from trading Paul Skeens, probably.
Right.
Arizona and San Diego, I think we both agree those teams can go on runs to be really good.
100%. Christian Walker's on fire.
My reason for going through this is I think a lot of these teams are very average. Like I think the Cardinals, Padres, and Diamondbacks are average to above average. Like I think they all could get to 86 wins. I wouldn't be shocked. But outside of them, like I don't see many. So I think they're really going to end up being a 3-4 team race where it's almost like the team that doesn't crater and just stays average makes it in. And I think the Cardinals can stay average. Like
The
I
one
hope they
team I'd
get
like
better
to
than
go,
that, but
I think I gave an answer maybe too quickly. Where do you stand? Where do you stand on the Reds? Like they do have Green and Lodolo. Spencer
they've been really
Steer,
good.
excuse me, my apologies. That was a hiccup there. I mean, do you think that they have enough in that
I think it really
lineup?
sucks that they don't have Matt McClain.
Yeah. Is he
Um,
coming back?
no, I think he's out for. I mean, maybe by
Okay.
September, but I think that might be too late. I think they can go on a run. They just went on a little bit of one. I don't. I think their bullpen's really bad, and I think their lineup is inconsistent because Ellie's a stud and he's becoming a star. But outside of him, like who scares you in that lineup? Jonathan India doesn't. Will Benson's been way worse than anyone thought he was going to be. Um, Fraley's okay. Friedel's okay. Like it's just not. They don't have much in terms of they need to add. And Candelario has been all right. They need to add a star to that team to go along with Ellie. They cannot be like Ellie's a star personality and he has the potential to be a star on the field, but he can't lead a team right now. He's not good
Yeah.
enough yet.
And I just don't think Pittsburgh has any offense. Like I know
No,
that,
I mean Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds are good players, but they're not star players. I don't think.
yeah.
Maybe Brian Reynolds
And
can be, but
I
Cabrera
think
can't.
O'Neal Cruz has to become a superstar for that team to take that next level. I think that's kind
He's
of
too flawed, I think, to
and
do that.
then I do think Connor Joe has played better, but I don't think you can rely on Connor. Who's the guy playing second base? Gonzalez. He's
He's
playing
been really
well.
good. He was
Yeah,
a highly touted prospect too. Like
I
O'Neal Cruz is one of those guys that has all the tools. He's very similar to Ellie De La Cruz. I think he's a little bit less refined, but he has all the tools to be great. That's going to make your eyes pop when you watch him. But I just don't know if he can be consistent enough to lead a team. I just don't see
yeah,
it.
Henry Davis kind of falls into that too. Would love to see him get a little bit
He's all
more
right.
consistent,
That's a
but he's just
bad
right.
number 1 overall pick.
Yeah,
Really
yeah, I
bad.
think it's going to turn out to potentially be that. Hopefully not. Hopefully Henry figures it out. Let's go, Hank.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, he played with Riley, so
but
little connections.
correct. I do think it's going to just be interesting to see what happens there. But I just think the Cardinals, like, I just think that offense will getting new. What is the timeline? New, when is he back? Have we heard?
They said hopefully end of June, but we're getting really close and he hasn't started rehab. I would say June by the All Star break they should both be back. I think Newt will be back earlier than that. Both, I mean, Edmund and Newt are. So by the All Star break, but hopefully by July, by first second week of July.
So big. You got two more games with the Giants, and next week where they got the Braves and the Reds. That's a big
Yeah,
one.
that's gonna be
Now,
a big week.
yeah, because the Braves, you're probably gonna you're gonna see Sale. I don't know if you're gonna see Freed. My luck is
I
we'll
can
see
look.
Freed. Um,
I
so
hope not because
I
we can't
don't
hit
know
lefties
where
anymore.
that. I think Chris Sale's pitching tonight against the Yankees, so that tells me you would get
You'll
him
see
next
him
week.
game 3.
Yeah,
Then
two
that
or
would make him in line for game 3. So let's see who pitched for the Braves yesterday. My
um.
Wi-Fi is not working. Hold on.
Well, that's gonna be interesting. I think that's a big homestand. Like to be
It's
honest,
huge. And the thing that I want to get so we won't face Morton and we will not face Freed. Freed pitches on Sunday. So we missed 2 of their 3 best pitchers, which is nice. Well, no, we
and
don't. Reynaldo Lopez is a star. So never
correct, and
mind.
you're going home to face Logan Webb and Jordan Hicks, and we know that Jordan
Yeah.
Hicks will probably strike out 17 Cardinals.
I hope he does. I love Jordan Hicks, man. I would he should be a Cardinal still. That one feels wrong. Like out of all the people that have left, the one that feels wrong to me is Jordan Hicks should be a Cardinal. He wanted to stay and they couldn't pay him enough. Um, Either way, what was I saying? Oh, the one thing I'll give the Cardinals credit for, they've been horrible at beating bad teams. So that's not giving me that's been bad. Like they haven't beat the Marlins, Rockies, and White
White
Sox
Sox.
nearly enough. Like that, they did really poorly in that area. But teams that are in the middle in their competing with them, Padres, Reds, Cubs, um,
Pirates.
Giants yesterday, Pirates as well. Yeah, they've beaten those teams. So they've beaten the teams that are like on the same tier as them. They've got to get better at being the bad teams because that's where you can get fat. But I have to give them credit. Like they've won both series against the Cubs. They've won both series against the Reds. Did they play them twice? I know they won at least one.
I think
They won the
once.
series against the Pirates, and then they're on their way to win the series against the Giants. They have to take one of the next 2. So I'll give them credit for that. So I'm interested to see about the Braves. Like Reynaldo Lopez is incredibly tough. Chris Sale is obviously always tough. So we gotta take one of those 2 games and win the last one, whoever you're facing there.
Um, level of concern with the back end of the bullpen, not necessarily Helsley, who has been, I mean, at times he just looks like he hates to throw his fastball, and I hate that for him because we
He's
saw
lost
what it could do.
confidence in it.
We saw what it could do last night when he threw 102 right by guys. Like we saw that.
That'll help, I think, getting his
Where do
confidence
you
back.
stand? Like, what would you do if you're Ollie with the JoJo Kittredge? Like, do you think it's Ryan Fernandez? Do you think it's time to give Libby a
Mhm.
little bit more? Do you think it's John King love? They're late, maybe in the 7th inning. Like, you've got to do something to not have
Gio's back too,
Kittredge.
by the way.
and JoJo throwing every night. Now, let me be fair because I'm not blaming Ollie for this because I do believe that by him being aggressive with those three this year, that's why they're 37 and 37.
Mhm.
So like if he didn't do this, that team could easily be 30 and 44. Like to be really
Or
fair.
worse. Like they'd
So
be worse, I think.
you have to give him credit, but at some point then we also have to say, okay, we need to maybe I'm not saying give them 3 days off, but
That's what he's
there
been
needs to be
doing.
what you need to do is have two guys step up, whether that is Fernandez, King. I mean, Kloffenstein sucks that he got sent back down.
Leahy.
Leahy,
And
Libby,
to the
like I
credit
just
of Fernandez and King, they kind of have. Like they have
right.
been good enough. Like I don't trust John King. I will never trust John King. I hope he continues to be TJ McFarland and get lucky. That's what
That's
I'll
who
say.
he is.
And like that's fine. Like there are relievers that have good seasons that are lucky. Just don't extend him after the season. Like don't do that, but let him have his good season until it falls off. Those guys have stepped up. Fernandez stepped up big in the Miami series. Even though he gave up that walk-off hit, whatever. Burley should have caught that ball. Um, it I think they have guys that can do that role. Gio coming back, we'll see. He got activated today. I'm hopeful, but I don't see it. Like I really love Gio, and I hope he gets is good again because I think it would suck for people that just hate him his last couple of years as a Cardinal, because he was so good for so long. If I'm Ollie at this point, I'm getting stubborn. Like I'm just saying, I'm not throwing him. I'm not throwing Kit Ridge this series. I'm not doing it. So offense, score more than one run. Like score
Right.
win by more than one run. That's the biggest thing here. The Cardinals have not blown out a team since 1927. I don't think. Like when are they going to score 12
That's the
runs in a game?
Yankees.
When yeah, when are they going to score 12 runs in a game? When are they going to put up that offensive performance where by the fifth inning you don't even have to watch the rest of the game?
When
They haven't done that. They've got to do that.
when the middle of your order starts hitting, that's when.
Right.
That's when.
Like they've
There's
got
your
like
answer.
they've had opportunity. How many games have we watched where they're up two and then the bases get loaded and then they don't come through and bring in the extra runs, which would make you no longer have to use Kit Rich, JoJo Helsley. You have to start coming through. And you know the reason why? Because their average with runners in scoring position is like one of the worst ever right now in the history of baseball. It's like 13th worst or something. It was where they're at 213 or something ridiculous. They've got to start coming through in those spots because when you are up by 3 runs and you have a chance to put a team away, not only that takes the stress off of everybody. You cannot play 1-run games 5 times a week. That's stressful for every player involved, and it's not healthy. So they need to start doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all agree on that. I'm intrigued why they don't use Libby more later in the game. Like I really am. He's been
I
so
think I know
effective
why.
out of the pen because they hate him.
No, it's because no, it's because they know he's their guy. That if Palante goes 4, or if Lance Lynn goes 4, like he has been, that he's the guy that can throw you 3 innings. There's no one else out there that can do it. So that's
Can't
why
Leahy?
they don't want to waste it. Three, that's tough. That's extending him a lot. Like he's a reliever. Libby's a
I
starter.
get it, but it's coming at the risk of using JoJo way too much. That's all I'm saying. Like
But
if you
it's
got
not
to
though
win a
because they've been
game,
using John King in
yeah,
that spot, and he's been good. Like
okay.
to their credit, he's been good. I don't trust him to stay good, but he has been so far. So I
Geo,
hope he
I would
does.
not use after the sixth inning. By the way,
No, not until if he has like if he puts together a couple of weeks where it looks like he's striking 2 guys out and outing, his slider looks good, then you might give him more lanes to face righties. But he's too bad against lefties to trust late in games. I think like any pinch
Burn
hit opportunity, and it's bad.
Bernal moved up to AAA. That's good to see. Connor
Bernal,
Springfield threw
no, Bedell.
Bedell. Sorry, Bedell. That's what I meant. That's what I
Say
meant.
Bernal
Bedell.
did not jump two
Yeah,
levels, did
no.
he?
Springfield threw a no hitter yesterday with Jerpy. That was cool to see. Obviously,
Who
he
they
didn't throw
keep
it.
babying for no reason.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. But also,
They're letting
Quinn
Quinn
Matthews has
Matthews
been great.
throw.
Quinn
He
Matthews
has
has
the
been
most
really good.
strikeouts in minor league baseball.
What happened to Tink? I know he left to start. I don't think I ever followed up on that.
Yeah, so he was cramping, is what Kyle Reese said, and then he said that they used that as a way to give him a little bit of a break
Okay,
because he's throwing more
okay,
innings than he's ever thrown before, and also he was at Birmingham yesterday, so it kind of lined up perfectly to just give him a breather.
perfect.
He's making his
Chase
next start. They said
Chase Davis starting to hit too. I don't know what his ceiling looks like.
we'll see.
That dude is freakishly athletic.
His ceiling's really high. I just
Yeah,
don't know if
I
he's gonna
think
reach it.
yeah. That well, let's hope. Let's hope that's. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean
that's up.
he's apparently a great kid, and like he's become good friends with Mason and Walker from what I've seen. So those are good guys to get around. Those two that
Absolutely, 100%.
everyone loves. So.
Um, around the league, sucks that Yamamoto's hurt. Sucks about Mookie Betts. Aaron Judge gets hit in the hand. Nolan gets hit in the elbow. I mean, I
Gleyber
don't know what you do
Torres,
about it. I don't know what you do. Obviously, we saw Gunnar get hit by the lefty from the Yankees. That's gonna happen. Like
start
that's
fighting them when they hit you. That's what you
Like
do.
it's something's got to
That
happen
was on purpose.
because
That Gunner one was on purpose, though,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that was the retaliation. Gunner, by the way,
which
shout
I
out to
hated.
him. First of all, shout out to him. Well,
I hate
players
it.
love it, to be fair, but he
I hate
drops
them.
drops
Fine.
everything, runs the first, steals second, scores the run to put
Yeah.
him up, and they end up winning the game. So
Yeah.
shout out to him.
If you're fine, I mean, players can love it. Then let the player throw his bat at you, or let him pick the baseball back up and throw it at you.
I'm not
But you have
disagreeing
to
with
take
what
your
you're
glove
saying.
off and act like you're gonna hit it. It's so stupid. Why do pitchers not get pitchers don't get any? They don't have anything to worry about. They
No,
need to
that
start
is
getting fought
correct.
again. That's what needs to happen. Start charging
That
the
is
mound again.
correct.
Now I'm gonna start a campaign. Charge the mound again. 2024.
There it is.
Is that what it is? Like seriously, these pitchers don't have it. They're so soft. I've been saying this forever. Like when people are like, oh well, this guy when he back in the day, he had a home run off him. He throws that ball at you. So how stupid. It's so dumb. I hate it. I think it's so stupid. Like remember Hunter Strickland threw at Bryce Harper for a home run
Yeah,
that happened 3 years
right.
before that, and then he ran away when he was trying to fight him. It's so stupid. And he threw his helmet at him. Good. That's what you should do. Throw a projectile back at him. I think it's so
Agreed.
dumb. I hate it.
Um, anything else you need to talk about with the Cardinals before we get out of here?
No, I just they need to sweep somebody soon for me to be happy again. They
I
swept
don't
one
think it's
team
going to
this year.
happen, bro.
It's not
Um,
acceptable.
if you were to look at the next two games with Webb and Hicks, what are you kind of calling a split?
The Sunny pitches Sunday.
Sunny pitches
Is that
Sunday, I
going to be
believe.
Hicks versus Sunny?
I do
That'd
believe
be
that is
awesome. I hope
correct.
that's what
Yes.
that is. Oh, that's awesome. That's gonna be a fun game to watch. Yeah, I would say probably like that's fair. Logan Webb's really good. Like almost underrated at this point how good he is. So yeah, if they split, that's fine. It'd be great to take both, but that's tough ask. Like, and
I
also we're playing another team on a losing streak, and every time we play a team on a losing streak, I know it's about time they're gonna snap out of it. So
Yeah,
they'll
that
probably snap out of it.
Giants lineup, I don't understand at all. I just don't understand. It's
Why
like
are they
the
betting
Cubs.
Jorge Soler fifth? It makes no
I
sense.
yeah, I don't understand.
That
That
ball he hit
center
yesterday was
fielder can
crushed.
hit, bro.
Elliot Ramos is
Ramos,
a stud.
whew,
Yeah.
that guy can hit.
I can't believe he's a center fielder. He looks like a third baseman. He's freaking huge.
He looks like the guy on the bench warmers who said I am 11. Like
I'm
he's
12.
I'm 12, whatever it is. That's who he looks like. Is that
He's
he's built
huge.
like
Yeah.
that guy. So all right, well, let's get out of here. We'll be back Sunday
What's your
with
prediction?
1-1. I just think that I think they find a way to win one. I think it's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be tough.
Who's
But I
pitching
think
tomorrow?
is it Miles?
So you got Miles and Sonny. I kind of like that.
I
I like
think
how
it's
that lines up.
Miles. Unless it's
Yeah.
Gibby. Unless it's Gibby. I
No,
could be
he's pitching
wrong.
Tuesday, they said.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I think it's Miles. Um,
I
it
like
has
that,
to be
Matt. I
Miles. It
like
is.
that
It's
at home.
absolutely Miles.
Yeah.
So it's Miles
Yeah.
and Gray.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Lance Lynn against the Braves is going to be fun, huh?
how many home runs does Ozuna hit in that series?
Hey, honestly, he'll be better than he was against the Marlins, which is funny. He will
Yeah,
definitely. But
yeah
whatever.
that one hurt because that was a win that you really needed to get there
That
when you get.
that was a tough series, but I also thought it was weird. Like that game itself was just honestly one player cost you the game. And then the other game was like Kyle Gibson got hurt right before the start. You're playing behind like, it was just whatever. No one got hurt in
Two
the
extra inning
game.
games and then a walk off in the ninth. That was your
Yeah.
trip to Miami. That's a tough
Yeah.
one.
Unfortunate,
But
but whatever. I'm kind of
yeah,
throwing that series away. It was just a weird one. Throw
yeah,
it
we
away.
can move on. All right. Well, hey, it's good to be back. You got anything else before we get out of here?
I don't, but I hope they win the next two games because that'd be fun to sweep a team.
Same weird Friday day off, so that's why we're here on today. But we will be back on Sunday. Thank you all so much. It's great to be back, and we will talk to you soon. Go Cards.